What do you think about this as a moment and the meaning?
Well, this is not the convention anybody planned on having 30 days ago, because 29 days ago, Joe Biden stunned everybody and dropped out. And he did so after a very strong pressure campaign. And tonight we're going to see President Biden, who by many accounts is still steaming and angry and hurt at being pushed out. He still thinks he could have won. But tonight, his job, for the sake of the party, for the sake of his administration, for the sake of his legacy, is to go out there and try and sell Kamala Harris as the best candidate going forward, when you know in his heart of hearts he believes he could have done it and should have been given the chance to try. So it's, I think, a pretty dramatic moment for a first night of a convention to see this kind of thing playing out. I mean, I was very struck by some reporting out today from one of the Biden staff saying they're not fooled by the patronizing praise of Biden by public officials who were knifing him just last month. You know,
Those are people that didn't get picked up by Harris's team, by the way.
You think? You think? But you mentioned in that great opening, that's why we're not seeing Nancy Pelosi on that stage tonight. Can you imagine how uncomfortable that would be? The two of them haven't even spoken in 29 days since Biden dropped out, because Nancy Pelosi was crucial and key and very powerful in identifying what she thought: he can't win, he's got to go. So I'll be really curious to see how he does, what he says, how he sells her, because listen, most of America doesn't know very much about Kamala Harris. This convention is the Democrats' opportunity to introduce her to America. What did she do in that White House for the last 3.5 years? How was she a good partner to President Biden when it came to governing this country? Where was she when the critical, crucial decisions and negotiations were being made? Was she even in the room or not? That's his job tonight, to explain where she was, what she did, and why she may be the best person to win in November, even though in his heart of hearts he thinks it should have been him, and that he earned it.
Well, right. Geraldo, I'll come to you as cleanup. Steyerwalt, what are you looking for?
Well, former presidents are tricky things, and he's not a former president yet, but he's a former nominee. Former presidents are tricky things at these events. We remember George W. Bush, when he was in 2008, stayed away, did a video chat to the Republican conference in St. Paul because he was unpopular. In 1968, the year that Republicans are fantasizing about a replay of 1968 in the streets of Chicago or in the hall. That's not going to happen. But there is one similarity here. You have an incumbent president in Joe Biden, who very much like Lyndon Johnson seems resentful of the vice president who is now running. And it was Lyndon Johnson who undercut Hubert Humphrey in significant ways in 1968, actually back-channeling with Richard Nixon, who I think he was probably hoping would actually win. That kind of acrimony is poison to a campaign. So can Biden take his licking, go out there, put the smile on and do it? And then the last thing is, can he do it in a way that doesn't raise questions about whether it's time for him to step aside from the presidency entirely? So he's got two hurdles to go over. One is a Democrat, and then the other is a president for all Americans. So that's a big pressure moment for him tonight.
This is a very, very tough time, and I use, as I often do in tight spots, pop cultural references. To me, this is like Star is Born. You know, whether the Judy Garland version, the Barbra Streisand version, the Lady Gaga version, they have to take the mantle from the star, the man, and, you know, be gracious as they go on to their own success. So there's a real question of whether or not this is going to be a Star is Born, whether Biden is going to be happy or whether he's going to be ticked off and feel resentful. I think it's very, very important. The other event I thought of was the 4x100 relay in Paris, when our team, the United States, the 4 fastest men on earth, botched it because they botched the passing of the baton. Are they going to botch the passing of the baton this time? The other observation I have, and admittedly it is early, is that this is a pretty boring show so far. First of all, it's not 1968. The war in Vietnam consumed the country. Everybody was being drafted. It was a much different. It was a whole society was engaged and worried where the world was going, how the the tectonic plates were we're shifting. There's obviously a real compassion for Gaza. There's real worry in Israel about the fate of the hostages. That all hangs in the balance now, and with Blinken over there, is that going to be the star of this show? So there are a lot of variables. But I think that they've got to step up the energy in the air. That it's not enough to say historic, black woman, and so forth. They've got to really, they're up against the memory of Hulk Hogan and the MMA guys at Trump, who survived an assassination a couple of days before. So I understand that Kamala Harris now has the momentum. It's shocking to me. I don't know whether, I mean, Chris knows so much more than I, Steiwalt knows so much more than I about momentum. Is this enough of a head start that they're going to catch her? But this is, you know, the stakes could not be higher, and I wish them well, but so far they need Lady Gaga.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.